So,
in my opinion.
so for more information, there is articles out there you can read a little bit more. There's probably some videos you can look at it. RTG85 is kind of where I saw it, and while I was just going through videos, saw that and heard about that, and then he referenced another person that actually did a dive in of that thing. So you can definitely check those out to learn a little bit more information about it. But I think the main topic really is not about really a lot of games. I think this is the tip of to get to the main topic, is about how do we feel about grading games. So before we go into that, I really want to talk about I remember back in the day that rarity was really the price of it, right? The rarity was the price, not so much of a grade. And it is interesting because Iwata's not the only ones that do this. You could talk about this with baseball cards. You could talk about it with cars. There's other things where you get a group out of nowhere to come out of nowhere to say, I'm going to grade that. I'm going to tell you how much is that worth. And that's how this world works. It's just more like, that's why we have car shows. That's why I have basketball cards that, that I need to sell them off. You got these Beckett magazines that will tell you it's worth this much.
Yeah.
And so in all this,
coin collecting, stamp collecting.
Yeah. And they tell you how much it's worth based on the rarity, all that kind of stuff. And that's the key word, rarity, right? Rarity.
Yeah. Not perceived rarity.
Yeah.
Rarity.
Yeah. And video games it's in that field, and it's interesting in its own way because compared to other products, you're not getting like a million of those things out there in a weird way. I don't know. It's hard to not so much easier to get. Like, for instance, like I'm pretty sure. I mean, God, it's hard to do this. Like cars, right? Yes, there's a million cars out there, and yes, there's a million of like of the same car that might be out there. But like, each car is not going to be graded individually to be better than the other one, And so when it comes to video games, and I'm sorry if that sounds confusing, but with the video games, I mean, Mario 3, for example, like has like over 1,000 of them, and some of them were sealed, and that's where the rarity starts, right? You have them sealed, they're in condition, never been played before, and then you name a price for it, what that person thinks is worth. I don't get the grading system. I don't get how a group decides to take this and just say, we decide how much we think is worth and how much we give it a number that we think is great, and they'll let you know this is the best it is, and you put it out there. Why do you need that seal from them to decide how much you want to put it out there? Why do you invest so much money to get them to give you a solid answer like, yes, we're the ones will tell you if this game is worth this much or is in great condition? Why don't you just do it? Why do you need this middleman to seal the deal for you? I guess that's what I don't understand.
Well, it's the same. It's supposed to be the same reason behind why you get certificates of authenticity for coins, for cards, for comic books, for art, for stamps. It's supposed to be a central authority. A group of people come together in whatever niche and agree that this person or these people are the authority for determining authenticity, value, etc. for this genre of collectible investments. So VGA has already been around. They've been around for before WATA, and they graded video games amongst other things. Where WATA is tickling your biscuit is because it seems very arbitrary with them, is because one, like you said, they don't really have a guide out for how they determine game value. Whereas CGC, the Comic Grading Authority, they actually tell you, hey, this means, some pages are faded, or staple is seen, or the cover is chipped or bent here, or this little dog ear, so we rate it between this and this means it's like it came out the bag the same, the very next day, all that stuff. That's why CGC seems more legit than WATA, when grading seems more legit, when you explain how you determine something and how you look at something. They can't even do that. WATA can't even do that.
Yeah. When it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm very ignorant of it because I just don't understand that. I mean, after you explain that, I get it, but I still don't like it in that way.
No, I don't like it either. But
yeah, but so to shows you examples. Maybe I can find a picture or something and to put up here. But I have seen their grades give games like a 97, right? And they could both be the same, but one had a little bit of a tear or something and it still got it. And I'm like you said, yeah, there's not a guideline that they're trying to present. It's almost like they're just kind of keeping it secret, or they're playing favoritism of, hey, maybe we know this person, maybe we can hook him up, because I guess maybe. Oh yeah, because that's been talked about. Actually, I remember an article that there is some people in the business with who they partner up with and all that kind of stuff, which you mentioned before. But the fact that the people decide who they want to sell the price for is probably the baffling part, right? It's like, oh, my grade got a 90, so it has to be worth $1.5 million. And my mindset is what angers me more upsets me more, and maybe really more disappointing, is people buy into buying that. Like, oh, it's a grade 90 and it's worth 1.5. I got to buy it. And it's like, why? Or is this for bragging? Probably. You're not going to play it. You just want to have it just to have it to fly around. But like, you're better off finding a sealed copy without the graded, doing the exact same thing. Like, a mint condition. That'd be same thing. Why is this?
Because they're not about the gaming or the collecting of video game. I would say 90%. Most of it is an investment. It's, I'm going to put this on the shelf or put this in a storage, and if it's worth this much now, oh man, my kid's future is set. All we have to do is just crack this mofo open in like 10, 15, 20 years, and we're set. It's the same thing that drove the comic speculation craze in the early 90s. When at Action Comics, people found news about the Action Comics being sold for X millions of dollars. People were like, oh my God. And then companies took advantage of this and started putting rare hollow foil print copies of stuff, and then just drove everything to the dirt.
So you have the game graded, and then you, I guess, well, let me guess. Like, maybe you go to price charting, and then you look up how much you think the game itself is worth in mint condition, not the seal. And then you kind of decide the price that you want to put out there. I guess that's how they would do it.
You do. Like, if it's not sealed, if it's one of those just unsealed but graded games, you go for what the average price is on price charting. And then I guess you add $10,000 to it. It's very arbitrary, right? It's like, why do you think this is worth this much? Well, this is rare and it's graded. It's like, okay, I mean, I see it for a lot of common / uncommon games that are graded. I see them going for like anywhere between $500 to $2,000, and I'm like, what? This cartridge right here? What?
So here's my question, and I have two scenarios, and maybe you can help me answer these. Okay, one, we are with the digital world, we are seeing some of these old classic games come back in a new way. And I would argue that now that there's more source to get to it, having the cartridge, I think, kind of loses the value a little bit. So when you grade a game, does that value? What happens when the value goes down on it? Does the grade really matter anymore in that case, or just?
I mean, let's put it this way: Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, a regular Super Mario Brothers, good old, sold with almost every NES that was ever out there. Super Mario Brothers, graded, unsealed, is still worth quite a bit of money. The value you couldn't get more than $2 for that game anywhere right now. Like if you just had the cartridge, there is no quantifiable empirical evidence that would drive the value of that game up just because it's graded. It is completely speculator because this group of rich a-holes said so, and then this other group of rich a-holes backed them up with an arbitrary certificate of authenticity.
And I would even argue the person that wants to get it graded, say Super Mario, like you get it graded, they tell you it's worth this much, and you put it out there. You want to hold on to it. You think it'll be worth a lot more later on. But with these digital, with the digital games now taking over, and these are easier way to digitalize this, who wants to pay for that if they can get it cheap right here? Unless you're a hardcore collector, a person that wants to play a game like that is not going to go find a rare game and get a console for it now.
True. I mean, and there are still a woefully high number of games that are trapped on previous gen or in the annals of history that could use a console update. So I can understand that kind of rarity, but Mario and and you're right. The digital there's a large more and more people are going towards digital, but there is an increasingly well not increasingly, but there is a very vocal subsection of gamer that if it was a Venn diagram of vocal gamers about digital and physical collectors, it would be a single circle. But um, they don't like physical. Or they don't like digital. They feel digital can be. They don't truly own it. It can be stolen
True.
away from
I
them
get
at
that
any moment,
100%.
etc.
I get that 100%. Right. I completely get that.
Yeah,
I get that if it's a rarity kind of digital game, right?
yeah.
Like, but if it's like this game, Super Mario, for example, like it's that game is so simple. But anyways,
Yeah, you're going to be able to find a copy no matter what.
yeah. Now my other scenario is, what if Iwata does shut down? Like, does the grade still matter then, or it doesn't matter? Because they're the one graded. So if they don't, does the grade just mean nothing? I'm trying to really understand this.
The grade doesn't disappear. What's done is done. They've graded it. They slabbed it.
But does their name mean anything after they shut down? Right? It's like
that's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's the same thing. Like if you reach into your wallet right now, hypothetically, and pull out a $20 bill, that $20 is worth $20 no matter where you go, no matter what, no matter if it's $20 now or it was $20 10 years ago. And because it says $20, it's that value because there are enough people who believe it is worth that much. There are enough people who believe it, who can back that up. Fiat, I believe. So if Wada dies tomorrow, that guy with a Super Mario 64 sealed that's rated 9.8 or 9.9, he could still make an argument that it's worth $1.2 million because there are enough people that will believe that.
I think that's a very important thing you brought up, is enough people believe that, and then that's a scam of its own, right? Because how many people is that, right? Like, 10 people say that, so now it has to be the rule. It's like, why?
Because those are 10 rich people.
Exactly.
Or people with a lot of excessive money to invest into collectibles. And here's the other thing. It's not just, some rich a-hole smoking a cigar lit with $100 bill. Not that. These are people who have a lot of investments here, there, everywhere. Whether it's, property investments, whether it's art investments, coin, whatever. And they see this as the next place to squirrel away money. And hold it as a piece that this little thing here that weighs 2 pounds is worth 20 pounds of money. And honestly, this goes into speculation. A lot of it's really good for money laundering.
It's a possible thing. I just wish more gamers kind of not invest so much into that, especially with the fee of $400. That's so ridiculous to me, and I hate that
people up to 400, but
up to 400. Yeah, I just hate people that really won't. Well, not. I gotta stop saying hate. It's disappointing. It's disappointing to see people really buy into that, and I wish they would not do that and just just sell the game whatever you want it to be. And I'm pretty sure someone will buy it without even a grade on it. I mean,
oh no, they will. It still happens to this day. I mean, if otherwise, retro shops would go out of business.
And that's the thing, like the retro collecting, it seems like it's getting tougher every year, right? It feels like that because, with people gatekeeping and setting these prices higher and higher, it's almost like, why do you want to collect retro games if it's this difficult than it is now?
I mean, I started not even 10 years, like less than 10 years ago. Like I would say 7 years ago, and it was hard then. All the stories you will hear from, or I would hear from people who have been doing it longer than me is like, oh yeah, I walked in this pawn shop or walked in this garage sale and they had all these games and like 5 of them are games that are worth like $200 a piece now, and I just picked them all up for like $10 for the whole box. Those days they're not gone, but you're more likely to be struck by lightning than to run into that kind of luck. So, and I think this is important because I know we're going to get comments or viewers or whatever yelling at the screen saying, that's not me, that's not how it is. We can't conflate retro collectors with the sealed collectors and the graded collectors, because there are people that kind of go across all three venues, and there are people who are exclusively this or this. I don't care if a game is sealed or not. If I get it, it's because I want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about preservation because that game is preserved one way or the other. And I don't care if a game is graded because I just don't. Well, no, let me be honest. I don't have tons and tons of disposable income to just throw at that, for one.
And that's why people lead to pirating, right? They're like emulators, right? Because
that's why people did that for rare games like, Little Samson and stuff. Mm-hmm. Emulate games because I may not have enough room to hold a library of games. I may not want to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on collecting a bunch of these games that I want to play. Or I could just go to whatever site, download what I want, or buy one of these mini consoles and be good. So,
and I guess that's where I'm kind of getting back into like what I was kind of confusing myself. I guess people are probably wondering is like this kind of thing doesn't work for cars or baseball cards in that way, because cars, they're one in a lifetime kind of situation. They're not like a million of this particular car. Because cars are expensive. There's a lot of parts. Right? What?
You're talking about classic cars, right?
Yeah,
like 65, whatever.
Yeah. Like there's not a lot of them really, and it costs a lot of money to make a card compared to now. I'm not going to say making video games is not expensive either, but I would argue probably back in that time, I would say maybe classic cars at that time were still more expensive than making a video game with the the old bits and whatnot. I would argue that. So
manufacturing it, cars were more.
Yeah. So that's why you only get there's only 25 of these out in the wild. Makes perfect sense compared to a simple game that is digitally you put on a cartridge, you can make 1 million of them. And so it makes sense at car shows where they get graded and they're worth this much, or baseball cards that get this much, But video games is different because it's first digital before it puts into a cartridge. You actually brought up a very good point there. I wanted to go into that. It's another complaint about WATA that's been put out there, and that's population reports. Mm-hmm. I.e., this is rare because this is how many are assumed in existence. Classic 60 whatever Mustang convertible whatever, mm-hmm. cherry red. It's like, oh my God, there's only 38 of these in existence, and I have one, and it's a legit whatever. That could be all but proven, unless someone is squirreling away one in a barn somewhere and forgot about it. But it's proven. Whereas, like you were saying, these games, it's like, oh, I got this Mario 64. It's like, cool, dude, I got one in the back. It's mm-hmm. like, why you want to? Well, it's sealed. It's in the box. It's like, okay, I mean, it's still the same game, But it's population reports that also are such a mystery. It's like, why is this 1.8 million? Oh, it's really rare. How rare? Pretty rare. Trust me, bro. It's that kind of stuff. Right. One of the most popular games ever is rare now. It doesn't work like that.
Exactly. Whereas coins, cards, comic books, you're more likely to get population reports of those because there are records of, okay, this many copies sold, or this many copies were made, this many copies sold, this many copies in this run were made. You can get data for that. But video games, you can get data for video games as well, but if you choose not to collect it or not to acknowledge it, or say, nah, don't look at that, it's rare, mm-hmm. That's what you have, Yeah.
I would love to hear people down below the comment. Please, leave a comment, correct us if there's something we're missing or anything. Because I still to this day still don't get the graded system. And as we said in the last video, it's kind of a scam in my opinion. I feel like that there should not be a middleman tell you what's the best condition of this game and how much you should look at selling it. I think you should just put the price that you think it honestly deserves and put that. Even if you go to price charting, if it tells you it's worth that much, then that's fine. Grading, yes, it's in a case, sure, but unless you're not going to play it, I don't see the point of it.
Well, if you're not going to play it, you're more of an investment collector than a game collector.
Yeah.
But now, caveat, because I have friends and associates who also acquire or purchase graded games. Maybe not to as much aplomb as a lot of these rich investors.
Okay.
That's cool. You clearly acquired it because you feel it's an investment or you want to preserve it for whatever reason. My thing where I may butt heads with them is that I'm like, acknowledge that you're doing this because you're speculating into the value of this game, the future value of this game being graded.
No, I 100% agree with you, because if you are dropping that much money, there's no other answer other than that's an investment that you're hoping that you're going to get the money back that you put in. That's hands down. There is no way you're going to drop a $1.5 million for this and say, oh, I love this game. It's so rare. I can't wait to play it later. No, fuck that.
But there are a ton of people who will drop $200, $300, $400 on some games that they have lying around, get it graded, and then hold on to them, hoping that it'll be worth 3 times, 4 times, 5, 10 times as much in a handful of years. And the thing is, who's buying these?
That's it. That's the key word. Like who are the people who are doing it? Like, look, it's fine that you this is the silly part too, because the fact that here is you got a game graded. Okay. What if 10,000s of people got the same game graded as you? Like, what is your chances of getting that game out selling, right? So does those 10,000 people that also got it level 9.1 or whatever. I don't know, man.
There are people who are getting PS4 or PS5 games graded. Like, come on, Jeremy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that retro gaming definitely has changed, like you said before, where it used to be a fun hobby and it's more of the journey. Then now it's more of just hunting for the first buried treasure. It's almost like, trying to find the one piece that will give you the most money in its own way.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I am no monkey to Luffy, but I will say retro. Okay, when Brandy and I, my partner Brandy and I, when we went out to Goodwills and pawn shops and local video game stores, looking for things of interest. We may have like a list in our heads of stuff we definitely want to grab, but other things of interest in video games. It was kind of fun because there was stuff there. If you knew what you were looking for, you could always find something of interest. And unfortunately, and if we couldn't, we still had, emulation or digital, whatever. It's not going to stop us from playing the game. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, a lot of people who are getting into the retro hobby, not everybody's getting into it for the nostalgia, wanting to reconnect with those games that were classics, Royal Mate, or wanting to explore the roots. They're getting into it because they see other people paying gobs and gobs of money for it.
Yes, and it's not just retro collectors. It's also big companies like Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox. They are also taking advantage of it, doing these digital old school games to get you to invest in their online service to enjoy those games. And so,
I mean, I'm not mad at them for bringing the digital stuff back up as another way to play it. That's great.
I just wish I could buy it instead of it's behind a subscriction, but that's a different story.
Or behind greedy, stupid decisions, Sega Mini 2.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. There's still a lot of blood in that nostalgia stone to be squeezed. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, there's the retro market is only going to get more expensive, unfortunately. Everybody thinks it's